It's August 12th, 2021. Up close, this looks like a tense but ordinary baseball situation. Yankees up 1 run, White Sox at bat in the bottom of the 9th. 1 on, 1 out. Big moment. Only when you zoom out do you realize that big moment is taking place in the middle of a cornfield. Before we see if the White Sox can pull off some heroics, we need to understand what's going on here. We need to rewind. This episode of Rewinder is presented by T-Mobile, America's largest 5G network. So we should start with the corn, yeah? We're not used to seeing teams from New York and Chicago play amid rows of corn. Well, tonight we're in Dyersville, Iowa. To understand why, you've got to go back to this guy. Yeah. W.P. Kinsella was a Canadian fella who loved to write about baseball. I didn't actually mean to rhyme that. In 1982, he released his most famous book, Shoeless Joe. A farmer hears voices, builds a baseball diamond in his cornfield, then meets the ghosts of Shoeless Joe Jackson and the infamous 1919 Black Sox. Oh, and also the author J.D. Salinger. A few years later, it was adapted into a movie, Field of Dreams, starring Kevin Costner. The movie's got almost everything in common with the book, minus Salinger. You don't mess with J.D., apparently. To be honest, I hadn't seen the movie until recently, and it's a nice movie. Okay, but you're probably still asking why any of this matters. Well, one thing Field of Dreams does better than perhaps any other work of fiction is depict baseball as something pure and romantic and even holy, something you long for when it's gone. That's why the Black Sox play a part in the story. In real life, the 1919 Chicago White Sox were accused of throwing the World Series at the behest of big-time gamblers. 8 players were banned from baseball forever, among them Shoeless Joe Jackson. In the story, their ghosts spend eternity pining for the game that banned them. And our guy Kev misses his late father. It's all about baseball as a symbol of bygone youth, innocence, and opportunity. Which is sort of darkly ironic given the events of the last 2 years. In August of 2019, 100 years after the Black Sox scandal and 30 years after the movie came out, MLB announced a plan. They had done some one-off neutral site games before, but this one would be even wilder. An official, regular season Field of Dreams game. 1 year in the future, August of 2020, the Yankees and White Sox would play in a custom-built ballpark right next to the still intact film set in a cornfield in Dyersville, Iowa. It would be quaint and old-timey and classic. It would be the state's first ever MLB game. It would not happen. The White Sox of yestercentury could have told you the real world has a way of interrupting baseball. Shoeless Joe himself missed the 1918 season to serve in World War I. And the infamous influenza epidemic took a real toll on baseball. The 1918 World Series was basically a super spreader event, and a famous umpire died of the flu later that year. Well, 100 years later, here we were again. The 2020 MLB season only kinda happened, but Dyersville remained on the schedule until the last minute. The venue was prepared, the matchup was switched to Yankees-Cardinals to fit the modified schedule. MLB really tried, but days before the game was supposed to be played, they pulled the plug. A year later, this game is finally being played as originally conceived. Although I should mention we're still feeling the effects of the pandemic. A few weeks ago, the Yankees acquired Anthony Rizzo, recent hero of the 2016 World Series champion Chicago Cubs, beloved by many of these Iowans. But Rizzo is not playing first base right now. He tested positive for COVID a few days ago. The virus remains a major obstacle in our lives. And it's not the only force affecting this event. You see all this corn standing tall in the outfield? It's the most distinctive feature connecting this venue to the field in the movie, but it almost got ruined. 2 brothers, Andy and Adam Ray, farm this land when it's not hosting a baseball game. Remember, this right here isn't the Field of Dreams set. That's over there. The place we're playing right now was custom built just for this game. It was all corn until recently. The brothers helped immensely with making that happen, preparing, cutting, and moving their crops to make room. Then they replanted to make the outfield look as lush and impressive as it did in the movie. It all looked great until 2 days ago, when a big-ass storm rolled through eastern Iowa. Severe winds knocked over something like 1,000 outfield corn stalks. To achieve the proper cornfield effect in time, the brothers had to work around the clock, zip-tying 1,000-odd fence posts to the stalks. A truly amazing achievement to pull off that fast. And hey, it looks great. You wouldn't even know. It's been worth it too, because the corn is such an important feature tonight. The Yankees and White Sox followed Kevin Costner onto the field for intros, appearing seemingly out of thin corn, just like Shoeless Joe and the gang did in the movie. Aside from the fact that it implies all of these people are dead, it was a really cool visual. And the outfield corn's gotten plenty of in-game play. This game has featured 7 home runs so far, including 2 from Yankees star Aaron Judge, who drove in most of New York's runs tonight. One was this opposite field bomb to pull the Yankees ahead in the 3rd inning, gone into the stalks. Then, when the Yankees fell behind again, Judge ignited a late rally with this jack to center corn. Easily the most exciting play of the night came right after that. Moments after Judge's second homer closed the gap to 7-6, Giancarlo Stanton had one last chance. 9th inning, 2 outs to save the game, and boom, that thing was smoked. If you search behind the left field fence, you might find some popcorn. So, that is why we're playing a bottom of the 9th. The White Sox had this game wrapped up until the Yankees' massive slugging lads flipped the script. This guy has a chance to flip it back. With a man on, one big swing for the Sox would end this game on a walk-off. Nobody better for the task. This is Tim Anderson. Anderson was a 2-sport athlete who shifted his focus from basketball to baseball, but only played at the JUCO level and went undrafted in 2012. Only after a ridiculous breakout sophomore season did Anderson get attention. Beginning in 2013, he worked his way up the White Sox farm system, then debuted for the big league club 5 years ago. Since then, Anderson has worked his way up to regular shortstop, dynamic leadoff hitter, silver slugger, and this season, all-star. Anderson is super talented and a big reason the Sox have a shot to win the AL Central for the first time in over a decade. There's more to Tim Anderson's role in this game and moment, though. Field of Dreams conjures nostalgia by conjuring the literal ghosts of a time when baseball was perhaps more simple, more pure, more... Hey, has anyone noticed that all the players depicted in this movie are white? Yeah, when we exalt these classic old-timey elements of baseball history, the old architecture, the old jerseys, we are referencing a time when baseball was segregated. And then there's today. More than 70 years since Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier, baseball hasn't fully integrated black players. Decades ago, MLB was nearly 1/5 African American. Today, it has regressed to well below that number and below most other major American sports leagues. There's just no arguing with the fact that MLB has fallen short in outreach, scouting, and community investment. That lack of black representation has felt particularly stark over the last year or two, when tragedies like the police killing of George Floyd stirred the U.S. into protests, and MLB didn't really know how to respond. So much of that burden fell on the shoulders of the league's few prominent black players. On opening day last year, Anderson felt obligated to join in peaceful protest by kneeling during the national anthem. It takes courage to speak out in a league with so few black players, but Anderson's not afraid of the spotlight, even when it's controversial. That's true when he's playing, also. During Anderson's rise to stardom, he's drawn some ire for his expressiveness on the field. Showboating, celebrating, generally enjoying himself in a sport that's still pretty stodgy compared to others. Anderson insists on having fun, controversy be damned. He performs for very important reasons. Fair or not, Tim feels pressure to help make baseball more accessible to people like him. It can be a lonely campaign at times. Anderson's outspokenness and his exuberance re-entered the conversation before this season, when Chicago hired Tony La Russa, a manager known for being successful and, well, also kind of a mascot for that stodginess in baseball. La Russa was on the record disparaging athletes who kneeled during the national anthem. La Russa was also on the record disparaging baseball players who committed sins as grave as swinging when their team had a big lead. Rarely does a baseball manager in 2021 feel compelled to inventory his skeletal racism levels in his introductory press conference, but such is Tony La Russa's reputation. Anderson came out quickly and clearly to say he would not change his style or his approach in deference to his new manager. And he's proven as much this season. When La Russa publicly criticized Yermin Mercedes for the grave injustice of continuing to play hard even when the White Sox were winning by a lot, Anderson came to his teammates' defense. And it wasn't the first time he had done so. Anderson favors brashness and personality and fun. Old-fashioned manners be damned. This isn't some major conflict in the clubhouse. They get along in spite of their disagreements, and, the Sox are having a great season so far. La Russa sadly couldn't participate tonight. He's attending a family funeral. In his absence, his team has risen to the occasion, joining in the home run barrage that, if not for that big Yankees rally in the top of this inning, would have already won them the game. Add all of the above together, and you're left with a truly unique scene. It was supposed to happen a year ago, but devastating world events intervened. This scene honors the nostalgia and romance of baseball history, as depicted in a beloved classic movie. But it also references a period of baseball history defined by prejudice, and it underscores a racial imbalance that hasn't really been fixed. Tim Anderson is accustomed to standing out and speaking out. He goes out of his way to do so. Right now, Anderson is wearing a uniform that no black players ever got to wear. He plays for an organization and a league still shamefully underpopulated with black employees. As much as this occasion honors baseball's past, Tim Anderson is here to push baseball into the future, as uphill a battle as that may be. For now, he could snatch the spotlight once more with a single big swing. Let's see if Tim Anderson can walk off the Field of Dreams game. Welcome to a moment in history.
Anderson hits it in the air to right, back at the wall, and the White Sox win it!
Thank you for watching this video, and if you're wondering what all these names are, well, they're the names of the people who get to see even more secret base stuff because they subscribe to our Patreon. I like them.